Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to look at how to analyze multiple response survey data, where the responses appear in multiple columns and each selection is coded as yes or no, where yes means that option was selected and no means otherwise. So this kind of multiple response survey data is common in cases where you export your data in data format or some other survey platforms would come with this kind of multiple response survey data. So in this case, the options appear as column names with the question, depending on how you coded the multiple response question to appear when you download your data. So in our case, the first one, we have feature phone is the option, second one, smartphone, in that order. So we are also going to look at how do we summarize this multiple response survey data using the default tables and also be able to divide the number of responses by the number of respondents inside the pivot table. All right. So how do we handle this kind of multiple response survey data? So first, you have your data. You go to data. From data, you go to from table or range and load it to Power Query. So once you have your data in Power Query, you look for all the multiple response columns and then you select all. So from here you go to replace values. So what we want to do is that we want to replace all entries that are no with null. So we want to configure Power Query to recognize all no entries as null. All right. So once we do this, we go to transform. From transform, we go to unpivot only selected columns. All right. So we have two columns added. So what we need to do is that we need to take out this question part so that we can have only the responses in the multiple response column. So what we need to do is to copy this question and then select the attribute column, go to replace values, and then we replace the question part. We can name this question 5 devices they own. So we don't need this value column, so we can remove it. And then we have our unpivoted multiple response column. This is the one that we are going to use to summarize in pivot table. All right, so from here we go to home, close and load, and then we add it to our data model. In an existing worksheet, we want to generate a pivot table. So we want to generate the pivot table report in our analysis sheet. So we generate our pivot table here. All right, so this is our data. So this and drop it in the row fields, and we want to count these options by the ID. All right. So by default, pivot table will summarize this by sum. So, but then we want to count these IDs. All right. So when we look at the grand total, it gives us 74. But in our data, the number of respondents were 50. So if we divide by the 74, this 74 is the total number of responses. So it's not making reference to the number of respondents, but we want to make reference to the number of that question. So what we do is that we right click again and now we summarize by district count. And we see that now our grand total is 50. So we can now show values as percentage of our column total. And then we have our result for the multiple response survey data. And that's it.